remember when Lily first fell in love with Jason. A mother's voice cut through my bridal shower like a knife. 25 people went silent. My ex Jason, the one who cheated on me, not Daniel. My fiancé, she winked at the horrified room and continued. We all thought she'd marry him, but things change. I felt like I'd been slapped. But 3 days later at my wedding, she learned that revenge is a family trait. Quick, drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Now, if you've ever craved perfect revenge, smash that subscribe button, because this story is pure justice served ice cold. Like, if you think a toxic family deserves consequences. Let's dive in. I'm Lily, and 3 months before my wedding to Daniel, I was throwing my bridal shower. I had spent weeks planning every detail. The venue was this gorgeous private dining room at an upscale restaurant downtown. Everything was draped in soft blush tones, my favorite color. Rose gold accents caught the afternoon light streaming through the tall windows. The champagne was flowing, the conversation was bubbling, and I was surrounded by 25 of the most important women in my life. My college roommate, Sarah, had flown in from Seattle just for this day. Daniel's mother, Margaret, had driven 3 hours from the countryside, beaming with excitement about officially welcoming me into their family. My closest friends from work were there. My cousins, my sister-in-law, everyone who mattered. The energy in the room was pure joy. Women laughing, sharing stories, celebrating love and new beginnings. Earlier that morning, Daniel had surprised me with the most stunning bouquet of white peonies and blush roses delivered right to the venue. The card read, "To my future wife. You deserve the world. Can't wait to call you Mrs. Anderson. Love, D." I had shown it to everyone, my heart practically bursting with happiness. This was it. This was my moment. After years of dating disasters and heartbreak, I had found my person. And everyone I loved was there to celebrate with me. The gift opening had gone perfectly. I received everything from beautiful lingerie to kitchen gadgets to sentimental photo frames. Each gift came with squeals of delight and inside jokes. The energy was infectious. Even Margaret, who I'd been nervous about impressing, was laughing at my friends' stories and complimenting my taste in everything from shoes to home decor. Then came the moment for toasts. Sarah had gone first, sharing a hilarious story about our college days and how she knew Daniel was the one because he was the first guy who could make me laugh until I cried. My sister-in-law followed with a sweet speech about how Daniel's whole family had been praying for him to find someone like me. The room was warm, glowing with love and champagne-induced giggles. Finally, it was my mother's turn. Mom had been unusually quiet throughout the shower, which should have been my first red flag. Normally, she was the center of attention at any family gathering, telling stories, making jokes, ensuring all eyes were on her. But today she had sat in the corner, making polite conversation, but seeming somehow ... distant, disconnected. She stood up in her lavender dress. The one I had specifically helped her pick out for this day. She was holding her champagne flute, and for a moment she looked like the picture of maternal pride. My heart swelled. Maybe she was just saving her energy for this moment. Maybe she was about to deliver the kind of heartfelt mother-daughter speech that would make everyone cry happy tears. "I'd like to say a few words about my daughter," she began, her voice carrying across the now quiet room. Everyone turned to face her, expectant smiles on their faces. I felt my chest tighten with anticipation and love. I remember when Lily first fell in love, ... She paused, and I thought she was building suspense, ... with Jason. The words hit the room like a physical blow. The silence wasn't just quiet, it was deafening. It was the kind of silence that makes your ears ring and your stomach drop into your shoes. I felt every pair of eyes in the room turn to look at me, then back at my mother, then back at me. Us, as if they were watching a tennis match where someone had just served a grenade instead of a ball. Jason, my ex-boyfriend. Jason, the one who had cheated on me with his coworker, Amanda. The one who had emotionally manipulated me for 3 years, making me believe I was too needy, too sensitive, too much. The one who had left me crying in my apartment at 2 a.m., wondering what was wrong with me that I couldn't keep a man interested. The one whose name I hadn't spoken in over 2 years because just thinking about him made my chest tight with remembered pain. And my mother. My own mother had just brought him up at my bridal shower. In front of Daniel's family. Front of my friends. In front of everyone who was supposed to be celebrating my new beginning, but she wasn't done. Oh no, she was just getting started. Back then, she continued, as if she couldn't see the horror on every face in the room. We all thought she'd marry him. He was so charming, so successful, such a catch. She actually smiled as she said this. But, well, things change. Then, she winked. She actually winked at the room full of women who were now staring at her in absolute shock. Few people let out uncomfortable laughs. The kind of nervous laughter that happens when someone tells a joke that's so inappropriate you don't know how else to react. My friends exchanged looks of pure horror. Sarah's mouth was literally hanging open. Margaret was gripping her champagne flute so tightly I thought it might shatter. Her face a mask of confusion and second-hand embarrassment. And me, I felt like I had been slapped. No, worse than slapped. I felt like I had been stripped naked, in front of everyone I cared about. The room was spinning slightly, and I could feel my cheeks burning with humiliation and rage. My mother raised her glass higher. "So here's to Lily and Daniel," she said, her voice bright and cheerful as if she hadn't just detonated a bomb in the middle of my celebration. "May this one work out better than the last one." The toast was met with the most awkward, scattered applause I've ever heard. People were clapping because they didn't know what else to do, but their faces were a mixture of confusion, anger, and pity. Pity for me. At my own bridal shower. I somehow managed to get through the rest of the event. I smiled when people hugged me goodbye. I thanked everyone for coming. I posed for pictures with my mother as if nothing had happened. But inside, I was dying. I was furious and humiliated and heartbroken all at once. Sarah pulled me aside as she was leaving. "What the hell was that?" she whispered. "Is your mom okay? Like, mentally?" I had no answer for her. I just shook my head and hugged her goodbye, promising to call her later. Margaret approached me carefully, her kind eyes full of concern. "Honey," she said softly, "I hope you know what just happened. That wasn't okay. Daniel's father and I think the world of you, and we're so excited to welcome you into our family." Her kindness almost broke me. I nodded, not trusting my voice, and watched her leave. That night, I sat in my bathtub for 2 hours trying to process what had happened. The warm water couldn't wash away the humiliation. I kept replaying the moment over and over, seeing the shocked faces of my friends, feeling the weight of everyone's eyes on me, as my mother essentially announced to the room that I was her second choice for a daughter-in-law. But as I sat there, wrinkled and waterlogged, something clicked. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't just my mother being thoughtless or having too much champagne. This was a pattern for the entire 2 years. I'd been with Daniel. My mother had never truly supported our relationship. She constantly brought up Jason, how successful he was, how he'd probably learned his lesson about cheating, how maybe I should see what he's up to these days. She made comments about how Daniel wasn't as polished as Jason, how he worked with his hands instead of in an office, how maybe I was settling for someone beneath my potential. I had ignored it all, chalked it up to mothers being overprotective or old-fashioned. But now I saw it clearly. My mother had never gotten over the idea that I should be with Jason. She had never accepted Daniel. And tonight, she had publicly humiliated me to make her point. She had taken what should have been a celebration of my happiness and turned it into a referendum on my life choices. She had made me feel small and ashamed in front of the people I loved most. She had disrespected Daniel, confused his family, and mortified my friends. Sitting in that cooling bathwater, I made a decision. My mother wanted to play games with my happiness. If she wanted to publicly humiliate me, then she was about to learn that I was my mother's daughter in more ways than one. I could play games too, then I'd played to win. The next morning, I called my wedding planner, Jessica. I need to make some changes to the seating chart, I told her. Of course, honey. What did you have in mind? I need to move my mother to table 12. There was a pause. Table 12. But that's the kids' table. I know exactly what table it is. Jessica hesitated. Are you sure? Your mother is supposed to be at the head table with the immediate family. My mother has made it very clear that she doesn't support this marriage. I said, my voice steady and cold, so she can sit with the other children who don't understand what's happening. But moving her to the kids' table was just the beginning. I had 3 days until the wedding, and I was going to make the most of them. I spent the next day doing research. I remembered something from 2 years ago, a time when I had been helping my mother organize her home office. I had been looking for her tax documents when I found a letter hidden behind some files. At the time, I had read it quickly and then put it back, too shocked to process what it meant. But now I needed to see it again. I drove to my mother's house while she was at work. I still had a key from when I used to house sit for her. I went straight to her desk and found exactly what I was looking for, hidden in the same spot where I'd found it 2 years earlier. It was a letter in my mother's handwriting, dated just 2 weeks after Jason and I had broken up. The letter was addressed to Jason, and reading it made my blood run cold. Dear Jason, it began, I know you and Lily have had your difficulties, but I think there might be a way to work things out. Lily is hurt right now, but she still loves you. She's just too proud to admit it. I think if you reached out to her, if you showed her that you've changed and that you're sorry, she might be willing to give you another chance. She's dating someone new, but it's nothing serious. Just a rebound. I know she'd drop him in a heartbeat. If you showed her you still cared, please consider it. I hate to see my daughter throwing away her future with someone who could give her the life she deserves. Call me if you'd like to discuss it further. It was signed with her phone number and a little heart. My own mother had tried to sabotage my relationship with Daniel before it had even gotten serious. She had gone behind my back to try to get my cheating ex-boyfriend to win me back. She had betrayed me in the most fundamental way possible. I took pictures of the letter with my phone and put it back exactly where I found it. Then I drove to a print shop and had the letter beautifully framed in an elegant silver frame. The rehearsal dinner was the next night. It was supposed to be a small, intimate gathering, just immediate family and the wedding party. It's 20 people. Total, seated around a long table at Daniel's family's favorite restaurant. The atmosphere was supposed to be warm and relaxed. A chance for both families to bond before the big day. Daniel's family was there in full force. His parents, his sister, and her husband, his grandparents, his uncle and aunt. My side was smaller, just my parents, my sister and her husband, and my cousin who was a bridesmaid. The numbers were uneven, but the energy was good. Everyone was laughing, sharing stories, toasting to love and new beginnings. My mother had been on her best behavior all evening. She complimented Margaret's dress, asked Daniel's father about his golf game, and seemed to be genuinely trying to make amends for the bridal shower disaster. She had even pulled me aside earlier to say she was sorry, for toast had been a little clumsy and that she was just nervous. But I wasn't fooled, knew exactly who she was now. When it came time for toasts, Daniel's best man went first with a hilarious story about their college years. Daniel's sister followed with a sweet speech about how happy she was to gain a sister. Then it was my turn. I stood up, holding my wine glass, and smiled at the room. I'd like to thank everyone who supported Daniel and me. I began, my voice clear and strong. Not just recently, but consistently, through joy and pain, through doubt and belief. I could see my mother smiling at me from across the table, probably thinking I was about to thank her for her support. Some of you saw our love and nurtured it from the very beginning, I continued. You cheered us on when we moved in together. You celebrated with us when we got engaged. You never questioned whether we were right for each other. The room was listening intently, everyone nodding along. Others ... I paused and looked directly at my mother. Her smile faltered slightly. Others thought I'd do better with someone like Jason. The room went dead silent. My mother's face went white. Daniel reached over and squeezed my hand under the table. So I'd like to give a small gift to someone special tonight, I said, my voice sweet as honey. I reached under my chair and pulled out a small wrapped box. Mom, this is for you. My mother's hands were shaking as she took the box. She looked around the table at all the faces watching her, then back at me. Lily, sweetheart, you didn't need to open it, I said, my smile never wavering. She unwrapped it slowly, her face growing more confused by the second. When she saw what was inside the framed letter, her face went from white to green. Would you like to read it to everyone? I asked sweetly. Or should I? She just stared at the frame, her mouth opening and closing like a fish. It's a letter. My mother wrote to my ex-boyfriend Jason, I announced to the table. Just 2 weeks after we broke up, she was trying to convince him to get back together with me. She told him that my relationship with Daniel was nothing serious. Okay. And that I would drop him in a heartbeat if Jason showed interest again. The silence at the table was deafening. Daniel's parents were staring at my mother with a mixture of shock and disgust. My own father was looking at his wife like he'd never seen her before. Turns out, I continued, my voice steady and calm, Jason didn't want me back, but Daniel did. And thank God for that, because Daniel saw my worth when my own mother couldn't see it. I raised my glass. So here's to the people who believe in love instead of trying to sabotage it. Here's to Daniel's family, who welcomed me with open arms. And here's to learning that sometimes the people who should support you the most are the ones who'll betray you the fastest. Everyone at the table except my mother raised their glasses and drank. The applause was genuine this time, led by Margaret, who was looking at me with a mixture of admiration and maternal pride. My mother sat frozen, still holding the framed letter, her face a mask of shame and humiliation. She had been exposed in front of everyone, and there was no way to take it back, no way to explain it away. Lily, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I can explain ... No need, I said, sitting back down. I think the letter speaks for itself. The rest of the dinner passed in a blur of awkward conversation and side glances. My mother barely spoke for the rest of the evening. She kept the framed letter on the table in front of her, as if she didn't know what to do with it. When the evening ended, people hugged Daniel and me goodbye, congratulating us again and telling us how much they were looking forward to the wedding. My mother lingered, clearly wanting to talk to me privately, but I was done with private conversations. I had said everything I needed to say. The wedding day arrived, and it was absolutely perfect. The weather was gorgeous, the flowers were stunning, and Daniel looked like a prince in his tuxedo. I felt like a queen in my dress, surrounded by people who genuinely loved and supported us. My mother arrived looking subdued, wearing a conservative navy dress instead of the elegant beaded gown she had originally planned. She had called me 3 times that morning, begging to talk, but I had ignored every call. This was my day, and I wasn't going to let her drama overshadow it. The ceremony was beautiful. Daniel and I exchanged vows that we had written ourselves, promising to support each other through everything life threw at us. When he kissed me, the whole church erupted in applause. Felt like I was floating . At the reception, I made sure to spend extra time with Margaret, complimenting her dress and thanking her for raising such an amazing son. When it came time for the traditional mother-daughter dance, I had one final surprise. The DJ announced the dance, and my mother stood up expectantly. But instead of walking toward her, I walked directly to Margaret. "Would you like to dance?" asked Daniel's mother, holding out my hand. Margaret's eyes filled with tears. "I would be honored," she said. "We danced to the way you look tonight," while my mother sat at the kids' table. Watching her daughter dance with the mother-in-law, who had shown me more love and support in 2 years than she had in my entire life, My mother left the reception early without saying goodbye to anyone. She just quietly gathered her purse and coat and slipped out the back door. I didn't even notice she was gone until my father came to tell me. "She's devastated," he said quietly. "She knows she messed up." "Good," I replied, not feeling even a little bit sorry for her. She should be. Months later, my mother finally called me. She was crying, begging for a second chance, promising she had learned her lesson. She said she had been to therapy, that she understood now how wrong she had been, how much she had hurt me. I listened to her entire speech without interrupting. When she finished, I said simply, "When you stop clinging to the past and trying to control my future, maybe you'll be welcome in it." Then I hung up. That was 6 months ago. We haven't spoken since. Daniel and I are happier than ever. We're talking about starting a family, and I know that when we do, our children will be surrounded by people who love and support them unconditionally. People like Margaret will never make them feel like they're not good enough. Sometimes revenge isn't about being loud or dramatic. Sometimes it's about elegantly exposing the truth and letting the consequences speak for themselves. It's about showing someone that their actions have consequences, and that you're not going to accept being treated poorly just because you share DNA. My mother tried to control my story, but I wrote a better ending, one where I'm surrounded by people who actually want me to be happy. If you made it this far, you're part of the Revenge Story Hall of Fame. Hit that like button if you think toxic family members deserve consequences. Subscribe for more stories where justice is served with style. And tell me in the comments what's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed. I read every single comment. Till next time, remember, the best revenge is living well. But sometimes it's also a well-timed truth bomb at a family dinner.